thought it was like a new Disney ride and people are waiting hours to ride it for the first time and they're just sitting there.
All right, those of you who have been following us for quite some time, there is a new wave of gun girls that is hitting the medias. Isn't that what Sydney called it today, the medias?
The social medias?
I think she called it the
All
the socials. And we are so excited to introduce you. A lot of you probably already follow her.
I would hope that you guys already follow her.
Yes, this is Paige Roux, aka some chick who shoots on Instagram. And
I feel like you're not just some chick who shoots.
I know. I love that. You gotta tell me the story of how you came up with that handle.
So it's so funny because some people ask me like, how'd you get into this? How is this your life? And it is interesting. So my family owns 3 indoor shooting ranges called Shooters World in Phoenix, Arizona. My dad was law enforcement. He purchased it when I was 4 years old. We didn't have daycare, so my playroom was actually at the 2nd story of our shooting range, and I would watch my dad sell guns.
I love that.
What a playroom.
Every day, yeah. And then on the weekends, he would let me have a pink holster with an unloaded pink 22 on my hip, and we would go to gun shows, and I would make money by passing out range coupons with my Chuck Taylors.
You were hustling.
Oh, hustling and bustling.
Yes.
I was making cash under the table, don't tell anyone, at like 8. And
put it in your piggy bank.
Exactly. And it was just part of my life, like the shooting range, all of the members. So then I turned 16 and I started working the membership and education desk, and so on and so forth. You're just working kind of like a restaurant.
Yeah.
You're
working a family business.
Yeah. And that was it. He never pushed me to be part of the business. He just said, the job's always there. And I explored other options, retail, hospitality management, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I like it. I really liked event planning now.
Oh.
I loved planning parties.
I mean, I feel like that's like so fun in general.
Oh, I know.
Like,
well, it's fun.
Stressful, but
yeah, it's fun, and then it's very stressful. So I actually went to school. I was getting my bachelor's degree in hospitality management, tourism, and a certificate in event or wedding planning.
Okay.
I wanted to be a wedding planner for hotels.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was a senior, and I was 21 or 22, and I had my NRA certification because I was going to school, and my dad said, well, you can teach the women's classes and get certified because you know the curriculum. You've taken the classes and stuff. So you can teach the classes and make a little extra money on the weekends. I said, great. I'm a senior in college. 2020 hits. Events are no longer.
Right.
I was the event coordinator for our company, planning all the charity events and everything, and 2020 completely changed my life.
Oh my gosh.
And I just realized, okay, so I'm not doing events. We have a huge demand for classes. They needed more instructors. And so my dad said, you need to teach more classes. And then I had women coming up to me for private lessons and so on and so forth. And overnight, I became a full-time firearms instructor.
And I'm assuming that with that 2020 hit, as we all know, you guys at your family's range was seeing more and more people coming interested and wanting to defend themselves and learning how to use a gun.
Lines out the door. We had a time, I think it was March 23rd. And that was like whatever day the shutdowns happened. And I'm in Phoenix at this time.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get any guns. So there was a major distributor, Davidson's, in Prescott, Arizona. So we drove trucks up to Davidson's. My parents cleaned out their bank account and bought whatever they could, loaded up the trucks, and drove it back. And at this time, there's a line of us behind the gun counter, and we're just standing there with a line of people that you would have thought it was like a new Disney ride, and people are waiting hours to ride it for the first time. And they're just sitting there, and my dad would come in, and they would check in whatever one gun, and a lot of them were pink Cerakoted ones that just people didn't really want. Right. My dad would come in and he'd hold up a gun. He goes, I got a pink Glock 19. Who wants it? And he would start at the front of the line and someone would say yes or no.
Oh
and
my
we would just work
gosh.
it until someone said yes, and we pulled them up and we did paperwork, and they waited in lines until 9, 10 o'clock at
Were
night.
people
That is
trying to outbid?
wild.
Was it like an auction
They
where you're like
almost
trying to
wanted to.
outbid each other?
We
on-
legally can't, but
Sure.
Oh wait, you have like a market cap on.
you
I didn't know that.
you can't give guns out. There's what is it called? But there's a cap. We can't sell more than what the manufacturer's cap is.
Oh, so
Okay.
they put like a minimum advertised price,
Correct.
MSRP.
Correct.
And,
Correct. So we
okay.
can't just
Just auction off highest bidder. You guys need a gun. Here you
No,
go.
but those people could turn around and be like, I just bought
Totally.
this. Who wants to buy this
Right.
gun for 3 times? They
absolutely
probably
could.
were.
Yeah, as an FFL, we can't.
Were y'all limiting them to like one gun per customer?
No, not the amount of guns, but we limited ammo for a while because ammo was so expensive. So I believe it was like 2 boxes
Yeah.
per person per day or something like that. And so people would come back every single day and buy boxes. And then we figured out, okay, so you're gonna sell guns. And then my dad would say, okay, go talk to my daughter and she'll get you in classes. And we just did that for over a year.
Wow.
And I realized, well, I never went back to school. And I found this huge passion for teaching because it was all of these women and men, but a lot of these people came in and they would say, I never thought that I would step foot in this range or in this gun store. I never thought that I would buy a gun, but I'm coming to this realization that if I call 911, no one's gonna come. And I remember one person specifically, they were
That
like,
gives me the chills
Yeah, it
because
does
it's
me too.
so it's
Yeah.
such a like hard hitting reality once you realize that.
Yeah.
And just like it's like, oh crap.
And they also don't realize that the cops don't legally have an obligation to
Right.
come save you.
right.
They have an obligation to like figure out the crime,
Yep.
but not stop the crime. That is
Right.
not their legal obligation to step in and make sure that you don't die.
Right.
And I didn't like when I found that out, I was like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, now there's obviously a lot of heroic cops out there that will do that, but they are not legally obligated to do that.
Right. And what's very interesting, you think, okay, I think it's like, I don't know the average number of, or average time for a police officer to respond because it's going to depend on your city and,
Yeah.
and everything. But I do know that the 2019 statistics for law enforcement, interactions with a firearm, so a shooting, and they can only quantify with law enforcement because it's all mapped out. With civilians, they can't schedule that, but it's 2 to 4 seconds. A deadly interaction is 2 to 4 seconds, or using a firearm, the event from start to finish is 2 to 4 seconds. You can't even pull out your phone and unlock it that quickly. And so you have to realize, how fast those interactions or those events happen.
That's why we always say the cops are minutes away when seconds matter.
Right.
Exactly.
And so you're literally your only first line of defense.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you.
People
it's
just
you.
don't. Some people don't realize that.
I know.
No.
And it's
well,
one
because
of
you've
those
been
things.
told your whole life that
Call
if there-
911.
if there's a problem, if there's an emergency, you call 911. Like
Yeah.
that's who you call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was raised to do that.
You-
You
of
call
course.
911.
Yeah.
When there's an emergency, you call 911. Yeah, and it just depends. But that was a huge, no pun intended, turning point for me. It literally, the universe said, absolutely not. You're not going to be an event planner. You're going to hard left into this. And I had my Instagram for about a year at this time. I started my Instagram in 2019.
Okay. Were you with Turning Point during 2019?
Wait, you started in 2019? No way. I feel like we were messaging and chatting through Instagram before that.
Go back. I have our messages.
That's why I was like trying to
feel
figure
like-
out like when
Do
did we?
we have a fact checker over here?
Well, I say that only because I feel like I've watched this evolution,
Yeah, it
and
seems
I
like
remember when I was like, "Wow, is she like
2019
really
was-
getting into instructing now?" Because I didn't think that's what she was doing, and I just saw the evolution over like your Instagram page.
So I've been
and-
teaching since 28. My birthday is November of 2017 is when I turned 21. So I started teaching the following January of 2018.
Okay.
And when you say teaching, are you mostly working on like basic handgun instruction? Or are you doing?
I was starting with that.
Draw from concealment.
Oh, yep, absolutely. Draw from
Okay.
concealment. Basically all brand new beginner to advanced pistols. Now, most of my students are brand new shooters, and that is where my passion lies. If you want to get into, I teach movement, but if you want to get into what people call tactics, like shooting behind vehicles and stuff, I'm not your person.
Yeah.
Right.
I like passing along. I have a lot of contacts. I am here, and then
You know your lane, you know where your strengths are, and that's what you want to focus on.
and I know what I offer is very special with the beginner side of pistol. So,
which is generally the biggest barrier for people to get into firearms in general is just it's intimidating. Not knowing who your instructor is going to be, it's intimidating, and not have ever laid hands on a firearm. I mean, if you really don't know where to go or who's teaching you, it's a very intimidating thing. So that lowers.
I'm sure we've all had, and I know that I've had like instructors, even like beginning instructors, after I've been experienced and go back to like, you know what, I haven't shot in a while. Let me just go back and just take a beginner class just to kind of, get through it. And like those instructors sucked. And I'm like,
it's not just like people think, oh, well, it's beginner, so anyone can teach it. No, I think of it and I explain it in a way of like, okay, math. We either loved or we hated math, right? And we went through our elementary school, middle school, high school, maybe even college years, either I love math or I hate math. And yes, it's like an early predisposition, but also it has a lot to do with who taught you addition and subtraction and multiplication. And if you found that love for it because it was easy then and they made it simple and you didn't feel dumb, then you immediately loved and felt like you were good at it. And that's what caused you to want to learn more.
Exactly.
I do that with guns. And that's what I love.
And I think that is so important because that otherwise, like once you go in, like you get that bad, you just feel bad about yourself and you just have a bad attitude when you've dealt with an instructor that doesn't want to like take the time to help you, and then you're like, well, I'm not going to do this because obviously I must not be good.
Or the patience.
Right. And I think that's key. I think patience is very key because I've had instructors with patient, they had no patience with me, and I'm just like, I'm here to learn. Like, help me figure out what my issue is here.
Right.
Well, and with women, we have to. Oh my gosh, it's the coolest thing. So I like women teaching them how to load a magazine and load the gun properly, right? So I walk them through it, then I talk them through it, and then I stand there like this, and I just watch. And I make them do it a couple times, and then the next lesson we'll review it, and I let them figure it out. It's not like, oh, just let me, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, because you're not going to learn. And seeing the connection of just repeating it 5 or 7 times of loading a magazine and loading the gun, which some people would think, oh my gosh, that's so simple, it's so mundane, why are you doing that? Just move on to the cool stuff, the high speed, low drag stuff. And I'm like, well, the people who learned the high speed, low drag stuff first are coming back to me to learn the fundamentals because they're like, well, I can shoot fast, but I'm not hitting my target. And I'm like, well, let's go back to fundamentals and let's work on this. So that's where I found like my passion. It was magical.
I love that. I did not realize that. I mean, I feel like I've known you and then like still didn't know that story.
People are learning. Like I don't post, I think, as much of that background on social media. And some people think, oh, like she teaches here and there. Like, no, I'm booked all the time.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I did not know this was your
like
full-time thing.
Yeah, teaching now at your family.
No,
so you're traveling?
I am my own person. Some chick who shoots.
Oh, wow.
So I pay my parents for range time.
Oh my gosh, how amazing is that? Just for that to like have like come to that point.
So Some Chick Who Shoots, the name. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready for this? It involved a lot of wine. So I had a class. I was teaching a class of women, and this at the time, like, I didn't know about Alexo Athletica. I didn't know about. I think you were one of the first like concealed carry women I followed, and I was like, "This is awesome."
That's what I mean. That's why I'm like, I can't believe it was only 2019.
Yeah, it had to have been the end of 2018 when I started following, but I became Some Chick Who Shoots in 2019.
Okay.
They were like, Paige, we just need help with concealed carry options, and I was going through this process of myself of like, I want to learn how to conceal and try out all these holsters, and they're like, we don't know where to start. And so I said, well, I have a showroom full of holsters, and I don't have to buy them, so why don't I try them out and wear them all day and test them and take pictures, and I'm going to see how long I can wear them without, so the thigh holsters, the dresses, everything. Yeah. And I started my Instagram, and I wanted to make it private, and I was like, what am I going to call it? I'm like, am I going to be Paige tactical Paige or,
Right.
you know,
Tacta Paige.
Tacta Paige. I need to wear a cape or something. And I was going through, you know, the gun names, and I was like, I don't like that. Like, I just shoot. I just
Right.
shoot guns. I said, I'm not like a pro. I don't consider myself an expert. I was
Right.
I didn't know what I knew at that time.
Yeah.
And I was very shy, and I was like, I'm just a girl who I just shoot guns. And I was like, I'm just a chick. Like, I'm just some chick. And I was about half a bottle of wine in my apartment by myself, and I was watching YouTube videos trying to find accounts that I wanted my students to see, and the recommendations that people were getting, I was just like, this is insane. So I started my Instagram, and I said, I'm some chick who shoots, with a bunch of underscores at the time. And I said, this is embarrassing. And I was so embarrassed to tell people my social media handle because it was like a full sentence. Like, hi, I
feel like that's
some
so
chick who
easy
shoots.
to
Hi,
remember.
I'm some chick who shoots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remember making it late at night, and I made my first boomerang with my Glock 43X with the red extended Tearing Tactical magazine. I did this, and that was my first story that I posted under that name. And I just said, if I impact one person, I'm happy. And if this gets good, this is going to be a really dope brand. I'm just some chick who shoots. And here I am. So,
well, I think it turned into a really dope brand, Some Chick Who Shoots,
I
because
was very excited.
you're teaching full time,
Yeah.
and now you also are a Turning Point contributor.
Yeah.
And doing like awesome things with Turning Point. Talk about that.
So Turning Point reached out to me in 2020 for about 6 months, and I didn't know my knowledge. I just was like, why me, you know?
Yeah.
They reached out to me for about 6 months, and I finally took a meeting with them. Had no idea what they wanted me to do. I thought they wanted me to like guest expert on something gun wise. They said, we want to, have you on. I said, okay, on what, So I did a phone call, and they're like, well, let's have you out to headquarters. I didn't know headquarters was 10 minutes from my house at the time. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I should know.
Were you following them? Like, did you know who Turning Point was at that point?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I love you now. But no, I had no idea. And I remember asking a friend. I knew he was an ambassador, and I said, hey, this Turning Point stuff. And he goes, yeah, they're cool. You should definitely answer them. Like, take the phone call. And I said, oh, okay. And I did. And I went down to headquarters and did a full tour. And then they sat me down after an hour, and they were like, let's talk about your show. And I was like, and in my head, everything is like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I go, let's talk about my show. Yes, finally. Like, what the F? And that's when I found out I was doing a gun show at Turning Point. So
That is awesome.
I started with being a contributor, and YWLS was actually my first event in 2021. And then I signed my contract in September of 21. And it's been amazing.
you
So
are.
Have y'all already had a season though, right?
So I had a season. We're canning it because I don't like it. It's not my personality. We're actually turning it into more reality TV.
Okay.
And we've been in the works on it for over a year.
Oh
It
my
is going to
gosh.
be incredible, but that is all I can say right now. It's going to be amazing, and watch out on my Instagram, and Turning Point will announce it, but it's still in the works. There's nothing to show yet, but it is going to be amazing. Yes, we've been working on it for over a year and a half.
Do
Oh
y'all
my
do you
gosh.
focus primarily on like the firearm itself, or do you dive into actual 2A issues on the show as well?
We are doing it. So my first season that I did that we're canning was me behind a counter giving 2A issues, bills coming out, and firearm education.
Okay.
But it just was so,
Yeah.
it wasn't my personality.
Yeah.
I had to write everything out. Like, I didn't want to hear myself talk. You know, like, you didn't want to, it was an informational,
Yeah.
and it was helpful, and people still find it helpful, but it had nothing to do with my personality.
It probably wasn't going to resonate with your audience that
Absolutely.
you're trying to get
Right.
informed, but you want to connect with them first.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So this new season is going to be education through entertainment.
Great.
I love
So
that.
I love baking shows. I feel like I'm like a full-time baker now, just because I lay in bed and I watch baking shows on TV. You know, when you're like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, why did they do that?
Professional chef through
Yes.
osmosis. process is,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, absolutely. I watch knife shows where they're forging knives, and I feel like I can do that. Have I ever picked up a piece of metal and thrown it into a fire? No. That's what I want to do with firearms in the 2A and breaking that barrier of, like this is actually what Firearms in the 2A is about, is us ladies like this, and it's not this old 1970s, 1980s style anymore.
It has
so
changed.
that's what it'll be.
How important do you think it is for your generation, the people your age and even younger, to start learning about the Second Amendment and just firearms in general?
It's the most important. However, I think where we're lacking is we tell people you need to learn firearms, you need to do this, and because no one's, when you call 911, no one might show up and so on. However, I just want to start people of like, I posted a video recently and it was, I don't care if you like guns, you hate guns, you have a bunch, or you're never going to buy one. Learn the firearm safety, know the firearm safety rules, understand them, and then I don't care what you do after. If you want to go further, that's amazing, and I will be there for it, but I will not push you to it.
What message is resonating the most with them? Because we're talking about kids who their only experience with firearms, I feel like there's this generation who now mass shootings is such a common thing, and so the only thing they're hearing about firearms is when they're depicted in the negative light. So how are you, and we're talking, this is even conservative kids, like kids that would identify as a conservative, maybe even vote Republican, but like they are still hearing this message, and that narrative is really overshadowing our message. So when you're talking to these kids, which messaging is resonating with them?
So it's very similar to what we're talking about in this conference of, birth control and families and all of that. If you go to the mainstream media, you're only going to get one side of it. I tell people, I'm just here to give you as much information as I can, as many facts and as many resources, because I am stubborn. If you tell me to make a decision or to agree with you, I will purposely say, nah, I don't want to. Because I don't want to be told what to do. I want, even if my mom jokes about this all the time. Sorry, I'm tangenting.
No, it's good.
My mom says this all the time. She goes, honey, I don't know why you ask me like which outfit or which hairstyle you want, because you've already made your decision. Or if I don't pick the one that you were leaning towards, you're gonna go and pick the same one. Or if I tell you to do that one, you're gonna pick the opposite anyways because you want it to be your decision. That's how I am.
Yeah.
And so resonating with these high school and college students who are in that stubborn part of their life.
They also don't, there's just figuring life out.
They are. There's so much. There's so many variables. There's so many influences that they're dealing with that we didn't deal with growing up.
I mean, social media alone, they're just, we're being fed so much information all the time. And most of it is like, and it's not just information, just like, we're just being fed just data, just like stuff that we have to take in.
Exactly. So I say, when I speak to them, because I go to their schools, and I say, I am here. You ask me as many questions as you want. You can disagree with me. I'm totally fine with that. I want a reason you're disagreeing with me. And then if you want my perspective, I'm happy to share it with you. If you don't want to hear it, then I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that, she's not going to argue with me. She's not going to, because a lot of, I feel like these students and people this age, they just want to argue and they want to be very good at debate and facts and spitting them out. Like Charlie Kirk is amazing at it. I want to crumble at the idea of that. I'm like, how about this? I am here for the information. They are shoving it down your throat. They're shoving that guns are bad and this and that. I said, if you want to believe that, okay. Like, I can't change your mind when you're in this mindset.
Right.
But if you're ready, I'll give you the facts. And I'm not going to tell you what decision to make.
Right.
Because I don't want that on myself either. I want to be known. I want to be told all of the information and then sit back and look at my morals, ethics, and values and say, okay, now I feel confident with my decision. And that kind of, I think, allows them to kind of break down their wall and their barrier of, And it's not, I'm not telling them, go get a gun. Right. Turn 21 and go get one. Go do this, go do that. Like, holy smokes. Some people have never even seen a gun in real life. We don't know what their upbringing is and their family is. And so I just say, hey, firearm safety, if that's the biggest thing. And if you have any questions, call me, text me.
I think that's such a fresh approach.
Yeah.
Because I think it's putting like the power in their hands in terms of like making that decision, saying, you know what, because it's like you were saying, they're basically being told the decision they need to make and
with
not
everything.
because of like this whole like group thing, and it's like, why don't you think about it for a second and make the decision on your own.
Yeah. Yep. And I'll talk to you and I'll tell you my input and I'll tell you why I have the feelings and the beliefs that I have, and you can agree with them or you can't. And that's the best part. Like, we're not going to sit here until we turn blue. I want you to sit down with me, and I do this all the time, before we have this conversation, we can agree to disagree. So just remember that. And now let's hear each other.
And now let's have a debate. Well, we've lost that and the ability to do that in our country, I think, in general. So the fact that you're bringing that back is amazing. So before we wrap up, we've got 3 questions.
We got some 3 rapid fire questions.
3 rapid fire questions. Boom, boom, boom.
You answered, but we're going to hear it again.
Okay.
Favorite thing about being a firearms instructor?
Oh my gosh, seeing the power of the recoil, like metaphorically and actually go back into the student who is fearful, and that power, you see it completely fill their souls, and like I see them change as a person outside the range.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Sorry, that's my favorite thing ever.
That's great. I love that.
What's the last thing you Googled?
Oh.
Well, we just bought a house, so.
Well, congratulations.
Well, besides the YWLS schedule, because I have no idea where I have to be all the time. No one tells me. Oh, and then it was Netflix because I'm trying to watch Grey's Anatomy in my room, and I had to log in. Nothing fun.
Nothing exciting.
No, hold on.
But just. That's your
Grey's
Google
Anatomy
history.
From the beginning or current season?
Oh my gosh, I'm on season 13.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I didn't even know there were that many seasons. Wow.
Right. Final
nothing
question. One beauty product you can't live without.
Oh, that's hard. Well, I just changed my entire face because I'm trying to switch all of my makeup to like products that align with my values. So my whole face, besides my eyelashes, are Hope Beauty.
Yes, we had Hope on last time.
Hope on last time. I love it. Yeah.
This is her lip, my highlighter, my bronzer.
Wow, looks great.
Thanks. Oh, my wet brush.
Your wet brush.
Your detangling brush.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because of my hair,
thinking,
I have to brush my hair like 17 times a day.
Yeah.
I know that's not super beauty, but I have to.
You have to. Yeah.
I have to have that specific brush to tangle it. I also use it to tease my hair.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is it like the flat?
It's just the flat.
Whatever they call that.
Like you buy from the drugstore.
Like paddle. It's like a paddle.
But it has no like fabric or anything in it, so you can detangle in the shower.
Oh.
It's just this plastic piece of thing.
Oh my gosh.
It's like $3.
The teasing with it, that was interesting. I'm gonna have to figure
I don't tease. I just get I use it on my daughter's hair because she has really curly hair, but it gets nesty in the back, and I have to detangle it with that brush.
So the best part is that you can tease it and rat nest it, and then you can also use it to detangle.
Untangle the rat's nest. Yeah.
And also
Brilliant.
living proof texture spray will help
I use
with the
their
teasing.
I do like that stuff.
Advanced dry shampoo.
I also use that. That's amazing.
Well, awesome.
I love it. Well, Paige, thank you.
Let everyone know where they can find you, follow you, support you.
Instagram is some chick who shoots, all one word, no dots, no nothing. And then all of my information is somechickWhoshoots.com.
We are always getting asked on my Alexo page and on my personal page, can you hook me up with a good female instructor? Are you traveling?
I travel.
Okay, so go and we'll connect you guys, but you can reach out to her and find out what her schedule is and all of that. So
that's also on my website.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Paige, and we can't wait to see what we have next.
Yep.
Not Your Average Gun Girl Show and its related companies, Alexo Athletica LLC and Stami Tactical LLC, shares information that may potentially have legal implications for its listeners. A reminder that laws vary for each state, and we encourage listeners to seek local legal advice to understand applicable laws. Any items, services, products, and advice mentioned during the Not Your Average Gun Girl Show should be used at your own discretion in accordance with your local and state laws, and you should follow applicable manufacturer's instructions. Not Your Average Gun Girls, Alexo Athletica LLC, and Stami Tactical LLC cannot be held liable for your actions based on the information shared.